Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 791, written by 89. This was beyond our dimension. This happened to me approximately 15 years ago. I've tried to rationalize what happened to me so many times over the years and convince myself it never happened or that I was dreaming. But each time I do that, I keep coming back to how well I remember things about that day. I remember exactly what I was wearing. I remember the exact feel of the chilly breeze against my skin that day. And I remember the feeling of the cold stone step I was sitting on. I have never remembered a dream with such clarity. I had a bad childhood. Grew up very poor. When this happened, I was about 17 years old, between 4 to 5 p.m. on an autumn evening, and I'd just had one of many huge arguments with my grandmother and my brother. I left the house in anger and sat down on the stone step outside to get away from them. Pretty much as soon as I sat down, I looked up into the sky above the houses opposite where I lived, and I saw this huge black thing silently hovering overhead. I've tried and tried over the years to be able to describe it better than a thing, but I just can't. I've tried drawing it and again, I just can't seem to get it right. You know how a stealth aircraft has lots of angles to it? That's the closest thing I can compare it to, except it looked like no human aircraft I've ever seen. It looked as if it had windows on the front, and I definitely got the impression that just as I was staring at it transfixed, whoever or whatever was inside this thing was scrutinizing me as it hovered motionless and silent in the sky above me. I have no idea how long I stared at it for. It could have been a long time or just a few seconds, but I remember I felt absolutely no fear whatsoever during any of this, only a sense of astonishment at what I was seeing and wondering if anyone else was seeing what I was. I don't remember seeing any other people on the street at the time, nor any vehicles passing by. That's my story, and I have no memory of what happened after I saw it, nor do I remember taking my eyes off of it. I had forgotten about the whole thing for a number of years until a random conversation with my girlfriend somehow made me remember it. I have since researched the strange and paranormal and read somewhere that these types of encounters can occur to younger people or those who are going through periods of heightened emotional stress. I realize people are going to call me crazy or mock me for what happened, but I know what I saw, and I'd be very interested to get opinions from others or find out if anyone else has encountered anything similar. Case notes for file 791. This was beyond our dimension. One interesting component to the story is the fact that you didn't experience any fear. This seems to be a common reoccurrence whenever people are dealing with potential extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial aliens, that they don't experience fear, at least looking back on the memory. Maybe they do and it's all suppressed, a fictitious memory. You know, this is the first time I've heard windows mentioned on a UFO, which makes me actually believe it might not be extraterrestrial. It might be human designed and not something you've ever seen because it's a military test. I'm sure they have really advanced technology and indeed stealth technology that to us would just look like it doesn't belong, I guess is the best way to say it. And it's not that unusual. I mean, you could imagine having cameras all over a ship recording the other side and then projecting it forward. We can do that now. I think especially at night, it's conceivable that you are just seeing some human craft that we have that is a test being conducted. Maybe even deliberately over a civilian population to see if anyone reports a UFO. It's a good way to test if it works. Case file number 792. Written by Anonymous. A second chance at the beach. This happened when my friends and I went to the beach and we got into the water. After a while, the waves got much stronger, but not too much so we stayed in, but we did get closer to the beach. But then, I swear, there was a 5-meter tall wave and I swam like crazy back to the beach, but I couldn't make it. I had my glasses on and opened my eyes to see where I was, except they weren't burning, and I didn't see any scent, but green water and stones. Try to imagine Minecraft cobblestone, but without being pixelated, at the bottom of a green, empty, silent ocean. That's pretty much what I saw. 2 seconds after that, I somehow got out of the water, even though it had pushed me down, and took a deep breath. I noticed I didn't have my glasses on, so we went home and that's it. The weird thing is that I saw stones and not a single piece of sand. Also, the water here isn't super clean, but definitely enough to not look so green. I also didn't notice I didn't breathe. The image still comes up every day or two in my mind, not knowing if I died and living after my death or just living in general, but I don't know how I survived. Case notes for file 792. A second chance at the beach. So I'm struck as this more being a guardian angel event. Something pulled you from the bottom of the water and probably prevented you from actually hitting your head on the cobblestone at the bottom. Because that's actually a common way to die if you're in the shallow ocean. A wave crashes into you, slams your head into the bottom corals or stone, whatever it is, and then you just die. Sometimes you remember your own death, which is one of the freakiest aspects of quantum immortality. I think it's probably a guardian angel event, as you don't notice anything different with the universe. And on a side note, while I do like the beach, I'm actually afraid to go in the water, mainly because of jellyfish. They're so white or translucent, you can't even tell they're there until they're on you and you're stung. And even if you don't die from it, the pain is apparently horrific. So I'd like to avoid that. The sharks don't terrify me, it's those damn jellyfish. Stay away. Bonus file, written by sourcreamking. The Mist That Twisted a Soul. This happened back in 1994 or 95, when I was about 16 years old. I was spending the summer at our cabin with my family and a friend from school. We were easily bored, so one evening we got the brilliant idea to walk to the nearest town. The walk was about 34 kilometers, so we packed some snacks and drinks and set off around midnight. What started as a fun walk and adventure was getting more and more a struggle as the hours passed by. We thought we'd make the trip in a few hours. Well, we were wrong. After about 4 hours, we get to a long, straight stretch of road. To the left of us is a large lake, and to the right, a steep cliffside. A cold mist rose from the lake, cool and refreshing. 20 meters or so in front of us, we noticed a figure walking towards us. This was the first person we'd seen all night, so we looked forward to exchanging a few words with another human, and asking how far our destination was. Our spirits were lifted, and we walked towards the person in front of us, clearly a man. The strange thing is, we never seemed to get any closer, and he was walking towards us. We were a bit confused, but ultimately thought it was some optical illusion. Surely we would meet him soon. But then we stepped out of the mist, and there was no person there. Puzzled, we stopped and looked around. The lake was completely still, not even a ripple, so he hadn't gone in the water. The vertical, mountainous cliff on the other side of the road was impossible to climb unless you had serious equipment. Dumbfounded, we stood there for a little while, anticipating this guy to appear, but he never did. We took a short break, got hydrated, and kept walking. 7 o'clock in the morning, 2 completely exhausted teenagers staggered into the town we had set out towards the night before. Our little trip ended up taking 7 hours, and to add insult to injury, it turned out no buses drove the route to our cabin on Sundays. This was a Sunday. Defeated, we found a payphone and called my father. Moments later, he and my grandpa were on their way to pick us up. The wait was only 30 to 45 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. We were so incredibly glad to see them drive up. My friend and I got in and just sat in the back, half asleep. On the way back, my grandpa started telling a story from the early 60s. He said that just up ahead, a young man had crashed his car into a cliff, and the car burst into fire. The next day, a passing motorist found the burnt-out car and the dead guy several hundred meters away. He had apparently walked on fire to try and get to the lake. The lake? My friend and I woke up with a bang. We looked out the car window and saw we were at the exact place where we saw a person in the mist the night before. My grandpa continued to tell me that several people had reported seeing a man walking along the road at night to just disappear when they stopped to talk to him. My friend and I just looked at each other. We hadn't mentioned our experience, and we had never heard that story before. To this day, I still get goosebumps driving on that stretch of road. Bonus file, The Mist That Twisted a Soul, So first off, I want to commend you on quite a walk. That's like 20 miles or more? Damn. I'm up to walking maybe 7 miles a day, and it feels good, but 20 miles? That's a trek. Not something I'd be able to do now, or at least not comfortably. My feet would be very achy. Now, mist being mentioned is interesting, not just because I love the movie, but because there's a lot of reports whenever mist is involved, fog, heavy fog, anything that obscures vision, I guess, where supernatural events unfold, or glitches too. Vision, sight, perception, anything that blocks you from witnessing or being connected to the outside world seems to have some profound effect on reality, enabling maybe easier crossing for entities or just spirits. Imagine that's part of why we don't see spirits all the time, and they're kind of rare. It's just because the membrane between our dimension has to be a bit thinner, and maybe it has to do with human perception and consciousness. The more there's a concentration of it, the harder it is to phase through. That's pure speculation, but I like the sound of it.